Okay, so still requesting everyone to please take the chairs and come ahead, please, requesting you all. So starting with our session, to all the digital frontiers present today, let me start by welcoming you all, settling the context for IAMAI's flagship conference, the 17th India Digital Summit. Long riding of the success of this conference, we are proud to claim that this is the largest digital summit in the part of the world. This edition will mark the 17th edition that will be focused and deliberate on the central theme Amrit Kal, Digital India at the rate 100. As India celebrates 75 years of independence, the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi proclaimed that India has entered Amrit Kal, which is known as auspicious time for new ventures and a prosperous tomorrow. With 9 focus tracks specially curated to share the actionable insights to our Honorable Prime Minister's vision, very good afternoon and welcome to everyone for the D2C and e-commerce track, where we are bringing together 25 plus industry pioneers to share power-packed insights from their experiences. This edition of India Digital Summit is in association with Google and MessageBoard. Before we kick start with the first session, let's start by thanking all the partners from the event who has been this successful. Association partner Google and MessageBoard, growth partner Paytm Ads, Lanyard partners Kalera, conversation media partner Bobble AI, agenda partner Disney Star, track partner TCI, digital transformation partner Accenture India, digital media partner Jagran New Media, silver partner Clavitab and AWS, bronze partner Hexa Webini, Mool One, Exotel, Notify Visitors, PaySprint, and True Balance. Conversation partner Value First. We are overjoyed to have you here, and we anticipate a fascinating day of thoughts-provoking conversation. In my opinion, will be both intriguing and educative. Let's start the first session of the day to the talk on the topic Bharat Rising in D2C Kahani. For that, let's welcome our panelists and introduce to them Mr. Angira Agrawal, Exotel, in discussion with Mr. Miss Anika Wadhera, Mr. Sai Thota, Mr. Siddharth Gupta, and Mr. Tarun Joshi. May I ask the panelists to please join us?
Good afternoon, everyone. So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. This is quite an interesting topic, and I'm not the one who's going to give any gyan. That's what I promised all the other panel members. There may be enough inputs I may have as a consumer or as someone who's been experiencing this from my role, but the goal here is going to be to hear more from the panelists in terms of how they are working around dealing with and driving consumer experience, right? So that's the fundamental goal. The format is going to be, I'll throw up some questions, but I'm going to leave it to each one of them to respond. The only thing where there'll be a structure is where I'll ask them to just introduce themselves and what their businesses are into. So why don't we start with the lady, Anika?
Hi, I'm Anika. I handle marketing and brand communication for Sirona. Sirona is a feminine hygiene brand. So we make products for period care, intimate care, and toilet hygiene for menstruators. We've been around for about more than 7 years, and we've launched a lot of innovative products in this category. And we are one of the leaders in the menstrual cup product segment as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Anika.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Siddharth. I am founder of Notify Visitors. We are a marketing automation platform which helps brands to personalize experience across channels, be it email, SMS, WhatsApp, on-site, in-app. And this helps them to increase retention and in turn, the overall lifetime value and revenue.
Thanks, Siddharth.
Hi, my name is Tarun Joshi. I am the founder and CEO of Joint Ventures. We run multiple D2C brands, including IGP.com, which is into the business of gifting, Interflora, which is into luxury flowers, and Muska, which is into indulgent food category. We are about 7-year-old startup. We now have almost about 1,500 plus people across pan-India. We are present directly in about 25 plus cities. Quite excited to have gone through this whole D2C journey and share a lot of insights with you all.
This is Thota. I head digital marketing at FNP, Ferns and Petals. Yeah, Ferns and Petals is also into gifting. And yeah, here to share some knowledge and then learn from the peers.
Thank you, everyone. So without much preamble, I'll quickly get started. Fundamentally, everyone talks about consumer experience and how important it is from any brand's perspective. I think it's further enhanced in the D2C space, primarily because the brands get directly exposed to the consumer. So a specific question that I have to begin with is, and anyone can take a shot at it, is what are your plans to build further or to look at enhancing consumer experience? How do you see driving that forward? So anyone?
Yeah, I'll take it. So I think depends a lot on categories also. The categories in which we are, there is a lot of perishable products. And we feel that demand is less of a problem, but solving supply chain is quite important. Because mostly D2C consumers, whether they are from tier 1, tier 2, or the rising Bharat, they don't end up giving you too many chances, and that's the reason why they are trying out newer brands. So the experience in the first shot has to be extremely, at least about 5 notches higher than what they are used to. And if that is delivered to them, then there is a lot of stickiness that we have observed. Now, how do you build that? Building that requires either riding on others' infrastructure or creating your own infrastructure. And the biggest question happens is, yes, while building our own infrastructure looks the best possible way, but then the break-even times of that, relying and creating more demand not only via your own platform, but sort of selling on other platforms. All those questions start to come, and if we keep taking informative bets around each of these and build our supply chain in a manner that it is, one, cost-effective, and at the same time giving that at least 5 notches higher consumer experience, that is something, I guess, is the winning mantra that we have observed.
I think we need to accept that consumer experience is directly related to the revenue. So when you look at it that way, then you have to ensure that your consumer experience is top-notch across all platforms of communication, all channels of sales, and your product itself. So the first consumer experience is your product. When the consumer gets your product, it has to be the top quality so that you feel good. And then before that, when you're trying to sell, your communication. So all of these things, your social media interaction, your customer service, all these platforms are ultimately creating an image of your brand or your product in the mind of the consumer, and then the consumer is going to decide whether he or she is going to buy your product. So all your platforms of interaction with the customer have to give a good experience. And then as a business, you need to make sure that you're also checking, you have your metrics in place to check what is happening on those platforms. So whether you check your NPS score, or you check your retention, or you check different parameters to check that the consumer is actually coming back to you. You check your reviews, you check what the consumer is saying about you and your products on social media, or even marketplace reviews. And that is how you come to know what is working, what is not working.
To add,
I can also answer this. I can't agree more with whether Tarun or Anika is talking about. Both of them have covered it in 2 different ways. I'll also try to put across probably another angle to it. Basically, we at Ferns and Petals are a digital-first brand, certainly. At the same time, how we deal with the supply chain and all, we have different kinds of things. For example, we have our own stores in different, we have approximately 400 plus stores, plus we have dark stores and a lot of these things, right? So that's one. And 2, because we are talking today also about customer experience, not just the product like the way that she's talking about experience on the website, or for that matter, touch points, right? So we essentially come across with the customer at least in 3 different touch points. 1, the website and app. 2, the stores. And 3, call center, because customers also keep calling the customer. So I would say giving a what you call consistent experience across all the touch points is very, very important. And if the customer is, let's say, switching from one to other, for example, let's say previously, let's say he has called up call center, or for that matter, he visited the store and then now he's coming on the website, we should be able to stitch the profile and be able to understand that it is the same customer who is again coming now on this channel, and be able to give that personalized experience. So I would say that's also of paramount importance in the current what do you call level of, or the state of technologies and that are adapting. Now, are we really there giving this experience across all the touch points? Certainly not, but certainly this is, we have already started, we have taken that journey, and we are taking, I would say, we have taken some steps. Certainly one of that is building a customer data platform, where we are trying to build this unified customer view of all the customers. We have started, we are almost done it with in digital. Now we are, what do you call, connecting the dots of offline and call center also. I think that is the way to go, is what I would also like to add.
Couldn't agree more with Sai, and you know, even I would say before the customer interacts with your brand, even on any of the channels, which is already covered by all the fellow panelists. I think today we can also know the intent of a customer, whether he's wanting to buy a bouquet of flower or something else, and through the source through which he's coming on the website, we can actually personalize the landing page itself to reflect what he was looking for. Imagine you walking in a supermarket and searching what you need, versus you walking into a specialized store which only sells that. So your perception is different, in both the scenarios, and your likelihood to buy is also much higher compared to otherwise. So I think today we are in such an advanced stage. Technically, we can know right from what intent he's coming, and then stitch it, like Sai mentioned, as a one customer view and personalize communication. And in fact, if somebody has gifted, on say 20th of Feb, so next year, 1 week before that, we already have the data that we can personalize and say that last time you gifted this product to so and so person, would you like to order something again? So I think that's omni-channel stitching, personalized experience.
In fact, I was taking some interesting notes, and I can see the dots being connected already. I had a question, and this linked to growth. So when you look at D2C brands, data indicates that, and I'm not giving but I'm just sharing, data indicates that only about 5% of the brands have been able to cross 100 crores of revenue in the last few years that they've been around, right? And it takes a lot of effort to grow from that perspective. So from your view, and keeping the customer experience part aside, we'll come to that, of course. From your view, what's the next milestone that you would look at if you were to grow significantly in the next, let's say, 24 months horizon? What's the next milestone? What's the next thing you would focus on beyond customer experience? And we'll come to customer experience later on.
Yeah, I'll go with that. So we started with our first brand. It took us about, I think, 5 years to cross 100 crores. Then we started with our second brand. It took us, actually this is the 4th year, and we'll cross 100 crores in that brand. And the third brand is just we have started. So maybe I've lived and relived that story. What has helped the most in defining growth is being absolutely clear about who is the target consumer set and how are we going to approach them. And how much are we going to be dependent on other channels or other affiliations or partnerships or platforms to sort of help drive that growth faster. I'll take an example of how we went about in each of these. So our first brand, right, IGP, is, we realize very clearly that if today there are 15 crore e-commerce buyers in India, it's a brand which caters to almost about 50% of those. So there are about 7.5 crore buyers. it's also a brand which caters to last-minute requirement of consumers. These consumers are wanting to find a solution to their problem, and the questions that they are asking is something that we understood well from, as some of the panelists explained, that various channels. When they call you, they ask certain things, which means they are going to go on Google and type a very similar kind of query. They are interacting with social platforms and probably interested only during the time of these events, rather than all the time trying to find that particular product. So once we define that there is this 7.5, 8 crore population, now this population has already been used to buying online, and Amazon, Flipkart, or some of the horizontal players have played a very big role in that, which means your communication or your attempt to gather them should not be to educate around come online. They are already used to it. The question is come on my platform or come on another platform where I'm going to already partner with. The objective also has to be very clear that what is the apprehension that these consumers have to start making a purchase. So start from an awareness set to a consideration set to a purchase set. And if that funnel is very clearly defined for each of these brands, then it starts get faster and faster. I think when we launch newer categories within each of these brands, the pace of growth starts getting faster because the data insights are much, much stronger. Whether a category expansion that you have done, is it a top-up category? Are you trying to expand the average order value? Or you are trying to increase the repeat purchases? I think these have been our learnings to sort of drive growth of each of these brands at a faster pace.
I think a lot of the brands we work with, profitability has become the next milestone, because in the times of liquidity crunch, everyone is trying to work with their existing set of customers that they have and optimize revenue with that. Because you end up spending, I remember, a decade back, the acquisition cost used to be 1,500 rupees per customer, now which is down to 200, 300, and for some of the established brand, that's down to even 100 rupees. So I think that is something, at least with a lot of brands we work with, has been the focus area in, in the recent times, and I think in the coming year as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. So while we are on the growth stage, profitability is always there at the, you keep checking that parameter as well, and that is where your CRM, your retention matters a lot. So those are the things that will help you drive profitability faster, because if the same consumer is coming again and again, then you're saving on your acquisition cost. That same consumer is probably going to tell more consumers, so that always helps. So your CRM and your retention becomes key parameters there, and plus, yeah, for everything else that you're doing, you need to be more efficient in your processes. You need to be more efficient in your the way the teams are working. There have to be more synergies. I think all of those smaller things also internally in terms of operations also matter. When you're small, things can work in silos, but when you're in the growth stage, you're on full force and full accelerator, then that's when synergies also become important.
For us, yes, while we are the market leader as of now in gifting at least. So the next phase is actually, we are basically, I'll also talk about a little bit about our category. Our category is driven by need. Without a need, the need could be like a birthday or anniversary of somebody else, right? So without that, the customer would not take the first step, okay? So, but still, unfortunately, most of our customers, at least that's true with FNP, I'm not sure about IGP, customer is very last minute. And the demands, especially the growing demands, especially probably after this quick commerce has started growing, it's like, can you deliver in the next 2 hours? Okay,
I'm sure when I make a mistake with my wife, I want the flowers delivered in the next 10 minutes so that she calms down quickly.
Absolutely. That's growing like crazy. Okay, so while meeting the standards in terms of the quality and all, how can you deliver the fastest? At least because 70% of our revenues more or less comes from the top 20 cities. Okay, at least in these top 20 cities, how can you deliver like in less than 60 minutes with the same quality? Is where probably our next focus is, and certainly improving the customer experience when we are delivering the product. These are the next priorities what I would like to call out.
So what I hear, and from what each of you has been responding, there are 2 or 3 things that emerge, right? Consistency of experience over a period of time across locations and across instances, right? So when I look at some of your businesses, there is, of course, in a lot of cases, you may be delivering directly, so you have better control. But in some cases, you may be working through a third party, a marketplace, or you may be working with a local provider who's doing a lot of work at their end to deliver the experience. So how do you drive that, right? How do you drive consistency of experience? And in your case, for example, Anika, it may be that every user is different. So how do you then deliver consistency of experience, right? In this case, it's periodic. In your case also, it may be similar, but how do you deliver that? So how is it that you're building up those processes and systems to deliver consistent experience across all of the delivery channels that you may have? And I'm talking about the product side. We'll come to the user side when they reach out to you across channels.
Firstly, because most of the gifting is like assembling different components and then making that final product and get it delivered, right? Whether you are using the third-party logistics partner or with your own network of shops that we have. Okay, so basically, when the product is designed in the studio, whatever is the process that we follow, we actually document it, whether in terms of the video or whatever, and then we invest time and energies in actually training each and every one, whether it be dark stores or our local shops, to make sure, basically, how do you actually assemble the products and then make it appealing to the end consumer is what we do. And of course, we use a lot of other technologies also to be able to verify whether that's happening or not. And then, of course, these surveys like NPS and all. I mean, that's the last thing, but then that also gives us some understanding of how this is happening. Yeah. And then, of course, mystery shopping also happens.
So our category is very, very different from flowers and gifting, where, like you mentioned, there is a need, and the need is more immediate, and the consumer knows that I have to give a gift and I have to give it right now or day after. So in the feminine hygiene category, there is a need, but because it's an unspoken category, there is not enough information floating around. Women are not even looking for information most of the time. They are just set in the way the things that have been happening in their life. So if I am doing a certain way, it's just going to go out. And because for many years, brands have also not spoken about it openly, and there has always been a certain pattern of communication that, the pad ads are certain way, and all ads pretty much the same way. You wear a pad and you'll fly, all of those things. So now all of that is changing. There are things being spoken, upfront. And so here from us, the first, for Sirona, it becomes that we have to do multiple things. One, we have to educate the customer that there is a brand called Sirona which is making products for you in a category that you need those products. So we have to tell them about the products. We have to tell them why they need it, even though they already know they need it, but you have to still, there is inertia to switch. So for us, on the product side, what became important is to be an innovative brand. So our focus is always to launch products that are innovative, that the consumer knows there is a need, but she doesn't look for those solutions. So we have to tell her that these are the products. So for us, we are trying to build a brand, or we have done it over the years, is to build a brand that offers innovative solutions. So that becomes the So the consumer expectation is that if I need to know anything about this category or a product, I can go to this brand. So innovation becomes a key there. So the consumer experience also is different. So if you come to the website, you will see problems that you face, you will see solutions. So that also is a part of the overall consumer experience that we're trying to drive.
So you're fundamentally using education to drive better awareness and deliver an end-to-end experience to the user is what you're doing, if I may get that right.
Education is a very big part of our category. So not only do we have to sell the product, we have to first make the person aware of the situation, of the problem, and then tell her that, okay, there is a solution for this. So, if you get rashes, you probably, the most common thing to do is that you just live through the rashes for the 2-3 days jab tak theek nahi ho jate. But we have to tell her that if you have rashes, you don't have to deal with it. There is a rash cream available for you. So content, education, and also because there's been a lot of misconceptions, knowledge is also, now, it's increasing, but for many years it was not there. So education and content plays a big role in our category.
So I'll give an example again of 3 of our brands, more from a product side. So one brand, IGP, which carries about 5,000 products. That's a platform play. The second brand, which is a D2C into flowers, just carries 110 products. And the third, which is into food, carries only 12 products. I think for us to understand when there are larger number of products, what becomes quite important is to define the complexity score quite well. We should be aware while the product is being made, conceptualized, that what is the level of complexity required at each of these stages. And then we are able to control the consumer experience much better. The second, if we are going more towards a higher average order value product, which is what we do in Interflora, that's where I think I quite agree that over there it's education of the customer that why the product is superior. I think expectations are set quite well when the product is being designed and when the first few deliveries are being done, and then the consumer gets sticky around that particular process of ordering and understands. And if I take an example of our third brand, Muska, that's all about taste, right? So over there, we spend months and months trying to just refine that taste of the product such that it just gets as sticky as possible. So I think just sharing some examples around that.
I think your question around streamlining processes, over here, I think customer feedback plays a very important role. So we are enabling through Notify Visitors, NPS, and customer feedback for a lot of the brands across journeys. It could be somebody searching the product on PLP page, somebody who is gone through and bought the product, somebody who did not buy the product. So if we capture the feedback at every stage, we will, at mass level, at the volumes at which, all the brands sitting here work, you cannot individually go out and check. So you need to aggregate data and understand what are the key pain points. Is it, there are not enough payment options? Is it a longer or, a slower website that they're experiencing? Or do they need some other kind of product? So I think once that feedback comes in, a lot of the processes can be optimized, and efficiency can be increased.
In fact, okay. The other part, by the way, is that we spoke about the supply side and the delivery side, the product side. You also touched upon, and I think you spoke about it, Siddharth, the omni-channel experience, right? So you triggered that off by saying that a user may go to a store, they may come to a website, and they need to have a consistent experience. How do you ensure that the user, when they're reaching out to you, and they're talking about a product and they're sharing their feedback or they are having a request, how do you deliver that consistent experience? What are the parameters you play with along the customer journey? I'm sure each one of you experiences that. In your case, Anika, it's about educating and being with the lady along her journey, right, across on a daily or a monthly basis. So how do you deal with that? How do you ensure she gets the same experience, whether it's on a website, whether it's someone else looking at information from them, or they are at a store, right? Because then the human comes into play in that case.
I broadly talked about basically when the product is made itself, how consistent we are trying to make it, the process of it is what is the answer as of now. But certainly if you're talking about customer experience across touch points and all, where right now when I'm talking about this consistency of experience, we are not differentiating between customer A to customer B. Okay, but then going forward, because I already told when we are talking about the CDP and all, as of now the efforts are limited only on digital. We still did not extend it to offline. So probably the next, our next step is probably to look into that and then make it personalized at that level. Right now, certainly we are not doing that, but then our journey is towards that.
So Notify Visitors is a customer data platform essentially, and that stitches together what Sai exactly mentioned. Touch all the touch points, be it offline stores, somebody has interacted with the store and then coming on the website, he punches his email ID and we automatically know that this customer was interested in so and so product, and we can throw a recommendation engine, similar products. So that kind of personalizes the experience overall. And knowing when we have communicated, has he interacted with that communication or not? What was his call center disposition? You said you have a call center. Was he interested? Was it a junk customer? Instead of calling him 10 times, selling the product, knowing firsthand, capturing that data and ensuring that the same communication grows across so that he's not bombarded. Some of the brands do that, they keep calling you despite knowing because their data is not stitched together. I think it's very essential today to have a customer data platform and feed in all touch points, not only with the brand, with the communication as well. If we sent out an email, an SMS, did he click on that? Did he come to till the checkout process? Knowing the funnel, like Tarun mentioned, that he's deep down the funnel, so he's more likely to buy. So can we maybe put in some extra effort to get him to convert? So these are the things I think that CDP brings in on the table for any brand.
So I think you're asking more about also service experience, right?
When the user reaches out,
right. Now, see, I think first is in the last 3 years, I guess there is a lot of disruption in the service quality experiences that e-commerce and D2C consumers are experiencing. We have seen delivery timelines getting squeezed to now at least first to 10 minutes and now getting back to maybe about 15 to 20 to 25 minutes also, right? But fast delivery has also started getting a lot of consumers think about that buying behavior quite last minute. So there is a behavioral change that I think quick commerce has delivered. Second thing is very efficient amount of tracking. I don't want to interact, the brand needs to essentially communicate with me. I have made a purchase and therefore it's the responsibility of the brand now to actually tell me at each stage what is happening. Whether a cake is being prepared or my food is being prepared, right? So that's the second expectation which has happened. The third is if because of any reason my experience is spoiled, I need very, very quick resolution. I think these are 3 things which have become hygiene compared to good to have 3 years back. And if we can command these 3 things in the best possible manner, I think then the consumers are likely to give better NPS scores.
So for Sirona, we're a primarily digital brand, right? So maximum sales come from digital platforms, from our own website and from marketplaces. So marketplaces, we cannot control the experience, but on our website and our other communication channels, social media, YouTube, Instagram, we can control the experience. But at the stage that we are at, and because we're not offline as much, for us, it's not about consistent consumer experience. It is about, for every platform, we just want to ensure that we're giving the best experience. So if you're buying from our website, we want to ensure 24-hour delivery, or we want to ensure that the consumer experience on the website is smooth till you check out. Or if you're on social media, if you're asking questions about a certain product, you have queries, or if you want an answer something, you give a prompt reply. Or if you're looking for just information in the feminine category, there is content on YouTube. So we don't make just content on the product that we're selling. We make content on general topics, about UTIs, about cervical cancer vaccine. So, education, helping the women out there. So our objective is basically that every platform that we are on, or wherever the customer is engaging with us, we provide the best experience there. And hopefully as we grow and build synergies between these platforms and with the help of tools, we can have a more consistent experience as well.
So in fact, one of the points you touched upon, Anika, was about profitability. That the next milestone for most organizations is to move towards profitability in the most D2C brands. Now it's an interesting piece, right? And there are multiple elements that come into play. How do you get more customers? How do you get them to buy more? How do you, build up loyalty, which is actually a very difficult thing to manage. As Tarun, you said, consumers, in the last 3 years, the requirements in terms of what customer experience should be, the definitions have changed significantly from good to have to great to have, right? So how do you, as organizations, see loyalty playing a critical role? And how is it that you're investing in that, not only from a perspective of giving discounts to get them to come back to you, but also using customer experience as a strong lever to drive that? So how do you see that playing a critical role for your profitability?
I think loyalty is a very important point. It just, if the customer is coming back to you, that's all you need. And that, I think, is a factor of two things. One is your product has to be good, very good. Like, she wants more of your product, and your experience is so good wherever she's buying it from that she doesn't want to switch. So, everything is going fine. I don't want to try something else. So that's the position. So I think your product and your experience, which again, it's just a word, but it's across, many small things. So these two factors would.
So how do you measure experience? You spoke about 5x, Tarun, earlier, 5x experience versus what it used to be earlier. How do you measure that? Because experience leads to loyalty. Loyalty leads to more and more customers coming to you, which means they spend more with you. That means your cost of customer acquisition versus the cost to serve, versus the lifetime value that you derive improves, the ratios improve, right?
So different channels would have different, so you check the NPS score, and NPS score can be on, the communication, it can be delivery, it can be, different parameters. You check your retention score, how many customers are coming back to your website to buy, your all CRM metrics that you check. And, all of these, and your growth on other platforms. So all of these parameters will help you understand, what is the consumer perception. Your reviews, people are very vocal about things that they don't like on social platforms. What they like, they don't share, but if there is something that goes wrong, they will definitely go out and share. So if you keep tracking those things, you'll get a sense of what's working for you and what's not working for you.
Is there something specific that any of you as organizations have done from a strategy viewpoint to dive deeper into building loyalty? Something specific?
So Notify Visitors is one product. Then we have another product, Invite Referrals, which is loyalty and referral program. And what I have seen, like Anika rightly mentioned, if something goes wrong, people are more likely to put it in social media and share. But if they feel good, they won't share it out of themselves. You have to give a trigger. In fact, I would break down loyalty into 3 things. One is the paramount importance is the product quality. Because if the product experience, product quality is not good, you cannot have the customer sticking around. Second is, if they are loyal to you and they are coming back and buying from you again and again, what extra do you give them? That's where something like a loyalty point system or something in terms of extra discount that they are getting, so they feel privileged. As a customer, that even if there is 5% cheaper at another place, but the experience is good and I'm getting pretty much at the same price or at a slightly higher price, they won't mind coming back to you again. And third is the recall value. So if this customer is likely to buy this product again at this time, is the brand the first to reach out to the customer with that recall value? That is of paramount importance. So it's very important to have a system in place to know, when do they have their birthday, anniversary, etc., and greet them on those special occasions. It's like, if you were doing B2B sales, you would greet your client on special occasions in his lifetime or in general. The same has to be done at a brand level as well to make the customer feel special. And coming to the second point, sharing good part. Do we reward them for that? Something like a referral program where if he shares it in his social circle, and you need to understand he's the TG. So if he's a 25 years old, guy, working in a metro city, he's likely to have a similar friend circle. So the moment we start rewarding him for sharing your product in his social circle, your cost of acquisition is very low, and he's reaching out, with your brand to the right TG. So I think it's very important to have a system in place to cover all of these things.
So I think as the scale grew for us quite large, we had to apply automated systems. So first we did is, there's a very high amount of data sciences slash AI/ML team that we set up. Now what that does is, using speech recognition as well as text recognition, reads out much more details of these NPS as well as call conversations with our consumers. Once that starts to happen, it essentially either puts extremely happy customers or extremely unhappy customers into different buckets, and then throws out data which tells you that these are the key larger pain points, right? And if you can actually rely on good softwares, tools, as your business, depending on what scale of the business it is. But I think if that starts to happen, then you pool out your consumers. Now then, when we have pooled out these consumers, we do very regular qualitative surveys by talking to them exactly a certain number of days after their experience either has been very bad or very good. Once that happens, then you convert that into actionable insights and put some growth forecasting teams to actually solve those problems. So for us, given the huge amount of data, like to give you an example, Valentine's Day, and I'm sure Sai would also have had the same problem because ours is such an event-based business. There would be like multiple people in the queue, right? These are people, you record their past behavior via data analytics and say, did they call you? Usually they don't call, but if they're still calling, that means there has been something wrong. They're not going to call on a Valentine's Day to say great flowers you sent to us, right? I'm sure there was a problem. But this is a consumer who has in the past never shown this behavior. Now, there is no way in which you could have handled a peak and said, I would have picked up every single call. So later you essentially identify and talk to them. Because one thing in this D2C segment, which is quite clear and is a reason why consumers are D2C consumers today, or is because the founders, the companies are bound to be very close to them, right? Otherwise they were happy buying the traditional FMCG products, right? And if they are not seen valued for their experience, I think that is what will lead to their shift back to probably standardized products rather than trying with innovative products. So we use a lot of tech to solve this.
I echo with what Tarun has been saying, but then probably just add one more point. For example, the same Valentine's I'm actually taking. What we did is, when the people are ordering itself, we try to set the expectations right in terms of probably when the order might be getting delivered. Because if you give a standard slot, say सुबह से लेकर रात तक कभी भी हो सकता है, I think people start calling at 8 o'clock in the morning. मेरा order deliver हो गया क्या? So what we did is, at least this time, we set the expectations right, because of which we were able to handle it, for example, a lot better. Again, of course, again, rest of all the points that Tarun has talked about, certainly they hold good.
In fact, one of the things that I've experienced talking to multiple organizations is that when there's a problem, I will choose the channel I want to call. I will call you, most probably. But when things are going smooth, I just want you to message me. I don't want you to bother me by calling me and saying, you know, we've delivered the flowers or your product's been delivered. I hope you're happy with that. Then it's an irritant, right? I'll use an example. My wife got some product installed at home and the person's been calling her and saying, please give us a rating on Amazon. And she's like, and this is a standard brand, global brand. And she's like, why should I bother about this? But if she had a good experience and it was really wow, she may have gone herself and given it a good rating on Amazon, right? So I think we all struggle with that, Tarun, what you're highlighting. That people will only call when they have a problem. Otherwise, when it's good, it typically gets ignored because it's assumed to be the hygiene factor, right? Yeah.
But then again, when it comes to zillennials, a lot of this behavior is actually changing. I think if they like the product, they are also shouting out on the social. Certainly, probably in gifting, at times it might be difficult to do that, especially when it comes to occasions like Valentine's. But then across categories, for example, most probably her brand might have seen that. Zillennials and late millennials, they're also very vocal about, and I think that's the change that's actually happening.
So what Siddharth was saying, the second parameter, that they need to be, something extra needs to be done for them and they need to be rewarded. That's not necessary, you're saying, for the zillennials.
I don't say not necessary. It can still be a booster, but then they won't mind shouting out. I think it's in their genes most probably.
I think trigger need not be a very big reward. I have seen brands offering 100 rupees discount, or even for a ticket size of 1,000, 1,500. Example, Lenskart, using our referral solution. I mean, there are around 50,000 people sharing a social circle, and they are able to reach directly over email and SMS to maybe 5 million people every month. So it's not something which they're promoting a lot, but our mindsets are now trained that the brand would be offering something if and this set of customers may be only 10%. I'm not saying everyone would be thinking like that, but this 10% customer can give you a reach of 100x by shouting. So we need to just trigger maybe subtly to let them know, and these 5 to 10% people will create the buzz.
There was one more question I had. If there was one thing that you would do, and you were pushed against the wall, and there was one thing that you had to do to maybe drive profitability, maybe drive customer experience, what is that one thing you would do? And you can only choose one, and it can't be a very long statement that covers 5 areas. So what is that one thing you would choose?
I think it has to be great product, because unless your core is not strong, no matter how much efforts you put in other areas, it will all go in vain. If you have a good product, whatever marketing efforts you will do, it will drive retained customers. There's no point having one-time customer and then having your cost of acquisition remain the same even 2 years after it. You are not able to, you will not build a profitable business, like that.
I agree. Your product is it's the core of everything. If it's a good product, everything else will follow, and everything else you can build on it. But if your product itself is not good, then everything falls flat. So yeah, your product needs to be solid. It has to be better than competition, and then then word of mouth, then reviews, then social sharing, your marketing communication, everything else can enhance that, and your customer experience strategies can build on them. But yeah, product stays the core.
Most probably focus on your existing customers. Focus on your existing customers.
So I would say it's a combination of product and experience always, or service. Most important is for us to think 5x, and I'll just repeat on that point, because there is a reason for people to switch and there is a reason for them to continue with you. And in today's world, a minor improvement is not going to deliver that. So if we have a mindset of delivering 5x, I think even if you're able to deliver 2x, it would make substantial difference. And today, the whole D2C ecosystem is all about making them feel so valued that they feel that whether it's the product, whether it's the service, whether it's the communication, in whatever way the brand has interacted with me, the salience stays in the mind.
Okay. I just want to ask, are there any questions that anyone has? Yeah. I think I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. My question is for Sai. And Sai, you represent Ferns and Petal, and before we could actually define the D2C as a jargon, right? Ferns and Petals has always had that visibility when it came to gifting and flowers, right? So recently you tied up with Anil Kapoor and you brought in the great Kali, right? The gentle giant, I would say. How do the two personas connect with F&P's persona? And you said that there are 20 cities that are in your radar all the time. So how do you measure the CX, and how do you measure the, I would say the ROI on working with Mr. Kapoor and the great Kali?
Okay, let me first answer the first question, Anil Kapoor. And basically, Anil Kapoor's campaign is a mixed result for us, honestly. So for some reason, it did not give us the intended results that we wanted to have. I don't say it is zero, certainly, but then certainly did not give the intended results. So again, we had to go back to the drawing board and then discussing about it. And then we felt that Kali would add that standing out basically in this category, especially because the kind of persona he's or at least that he carries. So we wanted to break that. That's how we tried it, and certainly it worked. Okay, so I don't want to talk much. Yeah, this is the first answer. Second question is about how do you measure CX? Okay, so because it's very recent, I don't think probably we still got into that level. I think probably we're still trying to understand the initial responses. Probably I think we'll have to work more on that and to be able to answer the second question.
Hello. Just one question, that the observation I was having, that in the market there is a lot of maneuvered reviews also which are happening. You would have experienced that probably. So how do you deal with the maneuvered reviews? I mean, you can see in the competitors are getting it through other ways. They're getting good reviews. So how would you, I mean, in such a situation, how can you really have the right feedback with you?
I think a lot of the marketplaces are having, are making their review norms very strict, so that the check is itself. So a lot of the people would, consumer is getting trained that which marketplace or which review marketplace would give you better indication of the reviews, because it cannot be controlled. Any opportunity given to any brand or anyone of us as human, which allows us to look differentiated and ahead of the other. The brand would try to do that. It has to be, and I think that is the responsibility of marketplace. And if this continues to happen, it also erodes their reputation, that reviews can be faked. So I think that's what gets controlled at the marketplace level.
Are there any other questions?
Hi. Apart from great product, what else drives retention from your own personal experience? Like, we have read enough and more blogs on it, but from your own personal experience, what are the variables that have driven the retention, people coming back to you again and again?
Hi.
So, shall I? Or, okay. Yeah, so I run retention marketing software company, Notify Visitors, and we are working with more than 500 brands. What I can say for sure is the recall value. Of course, apart from product, we still have to be on top of their mind, and to be there on top of their mind, reaching out to them on their preferred channel at right time, at the right moment in their customer life cycle is very important. And there is nothing more focused. I think it's the most important thing to reach out, and in a personalized manner. You wouldn't want to reach out with a generic communication to that customer, knowing that he was probably has bought certain product, and he's more likely to buy similar products. So recommendation engine, and all of these things become very important in this case.
I think just to answer this in a little more layman terms, if the brand can in today's world define the persona, right? If the moment you purchase a product, and if you can get a sense that I'm talking to some individual, right? Whether in whatever way I communicate with that brand, that sticks on the best. I think apart from your product, if you can define that persona in your shopping experience, in your delivery experience, in your communication experience, there would be a lot of memory of your brand that will stay with the consumer.
I can also probably add to this point, because we are also into delivering emotions. It's not just customer is mostly buying for himself. So at the end of it, when the delivery happens, how is the overall experience? That actually also makes a very big difference, probably is what I would like to say, beyond the product quality.
So by the way, Tarun, you made a statement that triggered a question in my mind. How do you draw the line between having sufficient information to create a persona without becoming intrusive or creepy in terms of the information you have, right? it's something that the GDPR Act talks about, but it's also very critical that you do it in a manner which delights, but not in a manner which scares. Right? So how do you, I'm sure you also experience similar feedback for your consumers, but how do you draw that line between knowing what is good enough and what is too much?
I think again, answering layman, we are all in a party, right? We can't just go and meet everyone. We can't put holdings around. We have to just be subtle about it. As I said, in every piece of your communication, if there is that when I say some brand values, right? If they're there, usually even if there is over intrusion, people don't mind it. Like I don't mind, for example, the way food delivery companies are sending notifications to me, right? While I may not be ordering, but I don't find them very intrusive, right? Because I think they've defined a tone of voice. And this tone of voice has started becoming very good, and D2C is redefining that tone of voice in a much better way. If that voice can be engaging, right, it is not intrusive. So there is a lot of innovation which I think is happening via delivery channels, as well as in the way we communicate, which is helping D2C brands quite a lot.
I think technology and tools has made it so simple for you to track everything, anonymously, without mapping it, per se to an email ID, phone number, and be intrusive. And you can actually everything, everywhere you interact, you can capture that data and personalize the experience. And it becomes intrusive only when you bombard customers unnecessarily. If you define what frequency you reach out to them and on what occasions, then I think, like Tarun mentioned, they don't mind being reached out by the brand.
Yeah. Hi. So I think in the era of digital marketing, every rupee being spent is ROI driven. So how do you focus on the brand building side of it? I mean, you have to be in the customer's top of the mind. So how do you focus on that bit possibly?
I think sorry. I think remarketing is something which is very important, because once the customer has come to your website or app, and remarketing is very cheap, and you can actually look a lot bigger than you are through remarketing. I think that's what people should focus on while building brand, to build their first party data, track each and every visitor coming to their site, so that they can reach out to them across all different other publishers.
I would say performance marketing is more P&L item, brand is more balance sheet item, right? A consistent spend, depending on the phase of the company's growth, is very important. It's not an investment which gives you immediate ROI, but it's something that takes its own time but creates a much more stickiness. So I would strongly recommend, in my personal experience, if there is one thing that I regret, is not having spent enough into the brand early on and waited too much for performance marketing to take the business to a certain level and then start spending on brand.
Yeah, I agree. You need to have your budget separate for brand building and for performance, and different metrics for both. One is for ROI, the other is for views, impressions, how many people you reached out to, how many people saw your content, all of those. So and both need to go parallel, because at one point of time, your growth will stagnate if you're only doing performance, right? And like, he said that, that at that time, if you start building a brand, you'll have to struggle more. So yeah, both things need to go parallel, need to have different budgets based on how much you can spend, and both activities are important.
I know we are a little late, but just last question. So.
By the way, this part about brand building versus performance, I think it applies even to B2B. My marketing head and I constantly have a conversation on how do we run both in parallel with the budgets that one has, right? So it's a universal phenomenon. Yeah, constant battle.
Hi, Mukesh this side. As we all know that retaining an existing customer is always economical than hiring or acquiring a new one, right? So what is the X factor, right? How can we keep our customer engaged? Because if our customers are engaged, then we can increase the lifetime value. So I just need to know that X factor, how can we keep them engaged and all to...
I think you need to provide value in every communication that you have. So that value can either be a source of entertainment, or it can be source of, of offer, a great offer that you're providing, or you're providing a great product, or a great content piece. So if you keep your communication value driven, content, offer, or engagement, or entertainment, and the customer is then, that this brand is sending me a message, kuch hoga isme, there is something to look at it. I don't need to ignore. Even if Zomato is, I'm not ordering food on Zomato, but I still, like you said, you keep the notification on because the content is very interesting. So you just swipe it because it's interesting. From Sirona, we ensure that every communication that we're sending out, there is, you either tell the woman that, you've been facing this problem, here's a solution for you. Or your razors might now be getting over, it's time to restock. Or, there's a Valentine's Day offer for self-care, take this. So just keep the communication value-driven and don't make it frivolous that the customer then say, this is just creating clutter in my life. And, nowadays just delete takes just a microsecond to just delete an app or not delete the brand from your mind. So, keep the communication right and focused.
I would say personalization, certainly not calling out the name. A thorough understanding of the customers based on not just the transactional behavior, but also the behavior when he's actually interacting with different properties that you have, whether it be website, app, call center, or for that matter, if you have an offline shop. What kind of a behavior is he exhibiting when he is interacting with all these products? You have to keep a constant watch and then keep on incrementally add understanding of this customer, and then send a communication or talk the language. I think that is the key, according to me.
Thanks. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I think fundamentally the key point that at least I summarized was for most D2C brands, profitability is a next milestone that there's a strong focus on, unless they're already profitable. And even if they're profitable, the focus is on delivering a consistent experience across product, which is very critical because that's what finally gets consumed, but also the experience in terms of the service channels that come into play. And as long as you're able to consistently deliver that and keep on raising the bar, right? I think that's what will drive that. And of course, having sufficient information to keep them delighted, but not, striking that balance and the way you engage, how do you keep that exciting, right? So thank you so much for your insights. I think this will remain a focus for the next few years, customer experience, as the product differentiation starts becoming lesser and lesser. Right? So thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. But before moving ahead, can I please ask the panelists for a group picture? Also, can we have a huge round of applause again for all the panelists? And thank you for the candid discussion.